then me too. So now we are recording. Fiba, it's very, very nice of you to have the talk with me, because I've spoken with some, or written with some people from the workshop, and they were too anxious to do it or unwilling to do it out of some maybe fears, I don't know. And I'm always happy when I find somebody who is ready to share the experiences with other Enneagram fans, which are really waiting for it to get such informations.
I thought when Claudia asked me, I thought it was a very good idea, because we were each type in our type groups. And especially for me, it was for the first time I was in a Sat group, so I didn't know many of the other people. And so it was not very easy to exchange the experiences of the other types. And so I thought it's a very nice idea.
Yes, exactly the same with me. So now I hope I will get the other types too, but well, we don't know.
Yes.
So today we have the 5, which is me, where I will speak first a little bit, and then the 9, which is you. No? So to 5, this I put it always in the sequence of the hell and then the purgatory, and I begin with the self-preservation 5. We had Kafka, the writer, who was a very sensible, oversensitive 5. And a good example for the problems of a fixated 5. So I think he lived very much of his life in hell, because he was not able to to have real contact with other people. And the most one significant scene which we played in the room was an appointment. Kafka had a date with a woman with whom he fell in love with, or he adored her. Now we don't know exactly. They had only contact with letters, so they were writing quite a lot, but they never met each other. So this was the first date in a hotel where they wanted to spend a weekend together. And the woman, we had one self-preservation woman in our group who played the role of Felice, and the other self-preservation 5s played the role of Kafka. So as me, for example, we tried to come near to Felice. She was standing there holding some letters from Kafka, and looking not very interesting in the texts, in the things which he wrote, and dropped the letter down. So she was not very strongly participating in the situation. But as he came nearer, then it was very difficult for him to come near. But when he came nearer, she looked at him in the eyes, so she made the contact. And in this moment, Kafka collapsed. Yeah. So maybe you've seen the scene in the big room. This was very clear to watch. If you maybe remember the scene, he was paralyzed. So Kafka was not able to make any contact, and this symbolized the whole problem of not being able to make real contact with other persons, not even with a loved one. So this was the hell. The purgatory was a situation when Kafka tried to tell his father an opinion about him. He wanted to tell his father the truth about what he thinks about him. And so he tried to come near to the father, but the father was presented by the whole group of fives. So there were many people who made a kind of wall. So Kafka tried to get to the wall and then say the father what he thinks about him. On the one side, there were two voices who tried to hold him back, so that he remains quiet and doesn't show himself and doesn't make a dangerous situation for him. So, and on the other side, there were two voices which told him, go to him, show him, tell him the truth. So he was divided in these two voices in his mind. And the wall was very strong because the father was probably an 8 and a very despotic and very crude man. So of course Kafka was anxious of him, but so he tried to make this step to show himself, to make real contact, and the two voices were trying to push him and to hold him back. So in this scene, he lost. So he was not able to take the real step, but it was dramatically played out. So we had one participant, one self-preservation 5, who was really very emotional, and he did his best, but he didn't manage. So this was at least the consciousness of the problem of the self-preservation 5, which was a purgatory example. So then we had the sexual one, which was Rilke, also the writer, the poem writer. Rilke was very sensitive man, of course, very sophisticated man who in the hell sit on a riverbank, I think, and was absorbed by meditating about a poem looking at the stars and feeling high, feeling good. So this was the first moment, but then there came people from around him, a kind of mob, people who were very very crude, very stupid, who tried to disturb him with banalities, with trivialities, which made such things as, hey, do, blah, 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 complete rubbish. And so he was on the one side trying to keep his high spirit, and on the other side, the world didn't let him. So he was disturbed through people, through the outside world, in his well-being. So this was the hell for the artistic sexual five. In Purgatory, we had a scene where such a sexual five was at a party, and there was the possibility to dance with some women. So he looked at a pretty woman and was very enthusiastic to get a dance with her, so that she agrees. And so she agrees first, and so they dance together, and Rilke is happy. He's fallen in love a little bit and is happy. But then the woman sees another man, which is much more appealing, somehow more interesting. And so she turns away from Rilke and goes to the other guy with whom she dances then. So Rilke collapses, of course, because he was being dropped down, and he recognizes that he is not worthy to be loved. And so now he's unhappy. But sometime later, also she sees a new chance, and sees another woman, and so he comes to her, and she agrees. So they dance together. But of course, the situation repeats, and so the problem of the Purgatory for the sexual five is that he is always alternating between happy, unhappy, between getting the objects of his desire and then being dropped down. And so we have here a type which our coach called happy, unhappy. Because this is always alternating, whereas the Kafka, as self-preservation, is unhappy.
Okay.
He is always unhappy. Of course, there are always some moments when Kafka maybe is also in paradise, but these are very short periods. most of the time he's unhappy, whereas the sexual vibes are alternating between the two states, but still in the hell, because they are always dependent upon the others. And by the last one, by the social, it looks like he's always happy. Because we had Leonardo da Vinci, who was standing on a chair to be higher than the other people. The other people, the group, they were going around, and he was standing above and looking down at the mob, and seeing that he is on a quite different level. He has quite a much more sophisticated mind, and he has nothing to do with the people. And this was a very interesting scene which we made, because we should go around and then become immer smaller. So we went down, then we crawled on the floor, and we should be very, very small. And our Luis, our coach, called us snails. So you are snails for Leonardo. You are snails. You are creeping. You are nothing. And so he was feeling good, because he is a kind of god in comparison with the people. But of course, the price for this being high above the other people is also loneliness, because he can't speak with anybody, nobody would understand. So he has no connection with other people, and he has a superiority, arrogant stance, but he is still in hell. Yes, and then purgatory, we had a scene with Einstein. Einstein was absorbed in reading and writing a book, and he was busy with science and investigating, very absorbed, looking up every now and then, looking at the stars, and still there were people around who needed help. This was the time of the Nazi in Germany in the 30s, and there were many Jewish people who needed help, and Einstein was able to help them because of his relationships, because of his fame, of his stand. So he could have helped many people, and maybe he has done to some of them, but generally the situation was that he came near to the people and wanted to contact with them and maybe do something for them, but he was held back through a voice in his mind which said, no, you have to do much more important things. You have not the time for such banal situations. These are just normal people, but you are a big scientist. You have much more important business to do. So he was also split in these two voices in his mind, between being human and being superior.
Yes.
Of course, as far as the purgatory is concerned, he lost usually. No? Yeah, so he could have done much more if he were in paradise. Yes, so this is a little overlook about the fives.
Right. So shall I go around for the nines then?
Please do.
Okay. So so we had for the self-preservation, we had a scene from Brahms. But then Claudio said at some point that he wasn't sure if Brahms was a self-preservation 9. Well, so that's... but the scene was very compelling. And we worked with Alain Vigneux, and so the scenes were built up in a very strong emotional way. And so this scene was little Brahms as a small boy, and his parents were poor, and so they want him to work because he's a virtuoso at playing piano. And they take him from one place to the other, and everywhere he gets rejected and says, no, he's too small and it won't, so he can't actually earn money and help his parents. And then finally, it's a very shady bar which accepts, and there are, you can imagine the scene, sailors drinking and women of loose character, attracting the men, and sometimes there are also people fighting and all of that. And you see little Brahms, playing in that environment which is so chaotic and unharmonious, and you see his mother walking across the scene in front. Alain placed her in front, and she's trying to justify her. His father is next to Brahms, encouraging him to play, and his mother is walking, and she's telling it was in Spanish, but the translation I got was that, it's necessary, we have to do it because we are hungry. And so this little boy, to be able to hold the situation as it is, he plays his music automatically, and he has his storybook, and he goes into his storybook, reading the story, and he's playing at the same time.
Okay.
And so Alain shows how Alain mentioned the word, the dissociation of the 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was and for each of the scenes, whatever our subtype, we had to find an example in our lives where we do the same thing. Yeah. And that was very powerful, to be able to see that, yes, our dissociation, all these mechanisms we have, which are so automatic, are intelligent in their own way because they're protecting us from, some situation. But when it becomes a habit and it's not necessary, it's not a survival strategy, but it just becomes a habit, that's when it takes away all our connection to the world. So when you speak about 5s not feeling connected, it's very similar also, for the 9s, which and so that was the hell for self-preservation 9. And purgatory, the character changed, it was Saint Thomas d'Aquinas. I don't know how it is. Saint Thomas d'Aquin, they say in French.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The people
Okay.
will understand.
Okay. So the purgatory was. It was so Saint Thomas. He is called to his faith, his love for Jesus, and I think Mary. I get a bit, he was Catholic, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yes. So he is called towards his faith, and so he wants to leave the ordinary life and become a monk, and all his family wants to stop him from doing that, because he has to continue the family tradition, and it was a lot in Spanish, so I just remember the visual scene. I don't remember the details of what was spoken because we didn't have translation, and I don't understand a word of Spanish, but the scene was very, very strong, because his family is stopping him from becoming a monk, and he's being called on one side, and so he closes himself in a small cell, and his family sends two prostitutes to attract him and bring him back into the world, and so the struggle, and he's pushing, and these people are forcing on him, and so this tussle between what I want to what I feel in my heart and what I want to follow, and the pressure of the people around who want me to do something else which is opposite to that, and so purgatory is that struggle between my path and the pressure of the others.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes, that was the purgatory. And self-preservation, heaven, we did all three actually in the 9 group. Yes. So it was, but we didn't get there emotionally for self-preservation 9, because Claudia also maybe hesitated. It was Karen Horney's scene, and I get confused now. Was it Karen Horney? Because there was Karen Horney and Velasquez, and anyway.
Velasquez is, I think, is the sexual 9.
Sexual 9, yes. So Karen Horney, and so Karen Horney's struggle was she was dedicated to her work as a psychologist, and she felt that her work was taking her away from her family. So that was the tussle in her purgatory, that she wasn't there for her daughters, and so couldn't be a good mother, a good wife, and because of the work, and so the scene that was chosen by the person who had studied Karen Horney's biography was this scene at a conference where she is speaking to other psychologists and researchers and even people who just have come to listen to her, and she's so happy to convey her message that this idea of each person can take charge of his own growth and of his own path, and everybody has a right to do that, and everybody has the capacity, and so this message, important message, she would like to convey. And her daughters who were living, one was in Mexico, the other was in Europe, her daughters come also to the conference, and so she has her family, she has her colleagues, and she has the public of Mr. Everybody. I mean, tout un chacun in French, they say. So it's as if all her worlds are reunited in this scene. And that is the feeling of heaven for the self-preservation 9, where she's no more divided, and everything there's one moment when everything just comes together. But well, the scene for some reason we didn't really reach that point, but because Ala is such a theater expert, and with the Gestalt techniques, of course, whatever people have to go through come up in these workshops, and so it was very emotionally, the person playing Karen Horney, at some point, and he gets the audience also to interact. So there's the nines were very emotional all through the week. We were, everybody was so emotional, and it was we just came alive through our emotions in this work, and Alain was really, really very nice in conducting the whole thing.
Even the fives were emotional. I didn't mention it, but it was really, I think all through was very emotional. And so even the fives, but I just talked to you about the situation. So
yes,
but
yes.
of course,
I can always, of course,
always with emotional.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah. I do imagine that it was like that, because what we saw on Friday evening, the five presentation touched me the most, honestly.
The most, even?
The most.
Okay.
It was clear, it was clear for the mind, it was moving, and there was a presence in the body. So, like all three centers, it was very strong for me, the five presentation. Yes. And so the sexual, we had Carl Rogers. And Carl Rogers is a boy who likes to dream, likes to be in nature, and yes, the 9 energy which can merge, and his family is very, very religious. Again, we have that, and they want him to be a very good student. So they force him to study, and he's not allowed to play, to go out and play with his friends, and to make that even stronger, he's taken away from the city where he lived, or from the place where he lived, to the countryside, and he's forced to be there and just do what his surroundings ask him, his parents and the family. Pray, read, and he's just caught in that, and he can't be a child and enjoy and dream and just be. And so that was the scene for the hell. And Alain used the word castration.
Castration.
Yes, yeah. for the scene, for the hell scene of the sexual 9. And so purgatory was the continuation actually of the same situation. But there were moments when he would escape. He was able to escape because he's in the countryside and follow the butterflies and look at the flowers, and probably that is when he got this. He developed this capacity to just be, to just be able to listen and allow whatever is happening to happen, just by being with nature and following. And so it's actually I even forget the details of this scene. Maybe I should just clarify with somebody from the yes, I can ask Sabrina, and I'll mail it to you exactly what the purgatory scene was.
Okay.
But what I remember was this, that there are moments when he's able to feel his freedom and just be him. And I remember this scene with the flower and the butterfly, and Carl Rogers just enjoying all of that. And he's pulled back by the duties of what he has to do and be for the family. This is what I remember, but I will check.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
And for the sexual 9, that was a very, very, very amazing scene, full of energy, was Velázquez. And he's painting, I forget the name of the painting, where the royal family is there, and then the princess is sitting, and then there's a dog. It's I forget the name.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so the whole scene was around the joy of painting, the joy of being in the activity and the painting. And this is the one painting where he has also painted himself in it.
The only one.
Yes, and he's not outside. I don't know if it is the only one, but at least this was, because I'm not very much familiar with Western art, but this was really highlighted in the scene.
Yeah.
That he is also painting himself, and so the joy of the action, which is flowing, and it's not just out there for the others, but he's also in there participating. So it was a very beautiful scene. Alain brought out colors, and people were painting on themselves, and it was very, very joyful to see this finally the 9, who is so silent in his withdrawal and lack of expression of himself, and in the scene of heaven where he doesn't care for what he looks like or what he's wearing or who he's listening to or not. He's just taken in the joy of expression.
Wonderful.
That was yes, it was very beautiful. That scene really also marked me a lot. And so for the social 9 was purgatory, was the scene of Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead as a very little.
But maybe could you begin with hell?
Oh yes, sorry. Yes, hell.
Maybe better.
Yes. I was going to speak about hell. I don't know why I said purgatory. Yes. So hell is this little girl who is just in the middle of the family, and everybody wants her to do something, but not there isn't anything. It's not forced like Brahms or like Carl Rogers hell, where they're really forced to whether they like it or not. Mm-hmm. Here it is just that she is offering to help everybody, her brother wants to play with her. She's saying, okay, I'll come and play with you. And her mother wants to learn how to observe and take notes, because she's an anthropologist, and teach her other things. And so she says, yes, Mama, I'll do it. And then her grandmother wants to learn something, wants to teach her something else, and she's there as well. And her father wants to take her to his lectures in the evening so that she knows the world. She's there for him. And her sister, who is not well, wants her to look after her. So she just sees everybody around her who needs her, and she's there, running from one to the other. Okay, I'll do it. So from a very young age, she's like, she herself mentions in her autobiography that at the age of 7, she just grew up to be a very wise young girl. She wasn't a child anymore, and she had to be this kind of responsible person. That was Purgatory, which was also very when it is in a theatrical form. You see the little child completely lost to herself, and responding to all the needs around her. That was hell. And Purgatory, we chose a scene from Benjamin Franklin, who's also a social 9. And so there it is very similar to, although it's not, it isn't about sexual, but about this need to express something. So in your case, it was expressing himself to his father. You were mentioning about in the self-preservation 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this was Benjamin Franklin wants to publicly speak about his ideas.
Uh-huh.
And he knows that it's something that people are not probably ready to listen. So he wants to speak, but people are not listening. And so it was theatrically very impressive, because similar, like Leonardo, Benjamin Franklin was standing on a chair above the others. There are similarities where they, kind of the socials have this kind of superior thing over the others, and he's standing over the others, and he's speaking, and there are people around, and they are talking, laughing, doing,
Yeah.
So this kind of conflict of trying to express what I have to say in a way that I'm heard, and that struggle between these two things.
Yeah. So the people showed him you are not really important.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Mm.
Mm. And he kept saying, I have things to say, and we have things to do, and these are important for the future of yes. So that was Purgatory.
Yeah.
And heaven we stayed with Benjamin Franklin, and there it was the scene of when he there were many different factions in America which were not agreeing to the same thing, and he is the one who finds the right words to bring all these people together, and the Constitution is signed it results in something, a concrete action.
Mhm.
The American Constitution is signed, and he's the one who has brought all these differing parties together to do that.
Yeah. Mm.
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 So
Perfect.
Mm.
Yeah, okay,
Mm.
fine. So I think we are through.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Viva.
Thank you, thank you. So I will send your email to 3 people at least that I know, and I mean I know means 2 of them I just met, one of them I know from a very long while.
Yeah.
But the person who is 6 and 4, they gave me their cards and their address to just stay in touch. So I thought, well, why not? We can write and see.
Yeah. Oh, it would be very nice.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Because these are the people who I'm still looking for. 4, 6, 7, and maybe even some more. But now it was a wonderful overview. So I have very good impression now, and I'm sure many people will be very, very happy to hear it.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's really nice.
So and we'll stay in touch.
Yes, sure. That'll be really, really nice.
Of course.
Yes.
So have a nice day, Viva.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
You
will
too.
put it in the online, no?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Bye.
all the best for you.
Bye.
Bye.